The hardest part of building anything big and meaningful is picking what to build and prioritizing it. The hardest part of prioritizing anything is staying consistent with how you do it. Hi, I'm Elliot, and I build stuff. These days, my career is mainly focused around helping teams of people build more stuff. From days early on the tools with one or two other people to managing multiple teams of people. Over that time, I have tried, tested, learned to love and hate a whole ton of different feature prioritization methods to ultimately try and get more stuff out to users as quickly as possible that they love, and as few things out to users as possible that they absolutely hate. Along the way, it is so easy to feel stuck. You might be in a situation where your team is nowhere near as big as you want it to be to ship everything on the roadmap. Or, counter to that, you may get this feeling that, back in the good old days, when there was maybe 2 or 3 people on the development team, you used to ship stuff a hell of a lot faster. And there's this craving, this temptation to try and get back to that state. And that often pairs with ripping up everything you're doing, trying some brand new technique, some new prioritization method to hopefully regain some of what's lost and get more stuff out the door. It is absolutely tempting to do this, but I'm telling you right now, if you take nothing else away from this video, don't just jump in and do that. It is almost always a mistake. The first couple of months of any new system are going to feel really exciting. On a personal level, you may get into the trend of doing a bullet journal or some second brain tool that is now going to become the crux of everything you've ever learned or will learn in the future. It's new, you've got a blank slate in front of you, you dive in, you go a little crazy, you overinvest. And ultimately, initially, things feel a little bit better. Inevitably, though, in a team setting, that sheen is going to wear off. Your backlog is going to grow as long as it ever was before. You're going to start to feel slowed down. Maybe you're not shipping as fast as you were in those first couple of weeks. You're back to the same old, same old. And at this point, it is very tempting to once again scour the internet for a blog post from some hot new tech startup about how they're prioritizing work and repeat this process pretty much to infinity. It reminds me of the way I play games like Baldur's Gate 3 or Civ 6. The first couple hours in the game, it's all about setting things up. You got a clean slate, small moves feel massive, you level up quickly, seems like things are flowing well. Eventually you get to the mid-game. Progress isn't as sweeping as it once was. It starts to feel a bit stale and repetitive. The temptation, at least for me, is there to start a new game. Optimize everything you've done up to now based on everything you know to get way better. But the real victory in these games, as well as in building stuff, it comes at the end, not the start. The temptation of an empty backlog, a clean slate to work from, is a very strong driving force. It feels new, it feels fresh, you can move faster. And much the same way that potentially deleting your entire code base and doing a full rewrite feels appealing, you pretty quickly get to the stage where a lot of those same old things that were in your backlog for a long time or in your code base for a rewrite, they pop up again. They were necessary. They weren't there because people added things in for no reason. It's part of what you had to build. You can very easily get to this same 40-50% state, feel frustrated, and want to start again. The value, ultimately, in what you ship is about how good you and your team are at pushing through that pain and getting more stuff out the door. So what do you do instead? You move slow, you move steady. You keep the changes that you make to your process and your team's process small. You can tweak things a little bit. I'm all for continuous improvement. And you'll soon find that by staying consistent over the long term, looking back a year, 2 years, 5 years, you're going to be a hell of a lot better than if you kept restarting, rebuilding every 3 to 6 months. If you're managing a team of engineers, designers, keep in mind that these people are highly intelligent and chances are they already love optimizing stuff. Give them a steady framework to work in, make minor changes to it, and they will find the best way to work within that framework. If you're not managing a team, you're working on something by yourself, be aware that this can just as easily be something that you do to yourself. You may have a side project that's never finished because you continue to scrap the plans you had for it, start again, reprioritize. It'll definitely be better this time. Now, you may be asking, well, what if that magical tech startup blog post was correct? What if they've uncovered the absolute best way to prioritize stuff, pick what to work on, and ship stuff? I'm not saying never experiment. I'm saying be aware of the burden that massive shifts put on you and your team and limit the changes. If you want to try something new, a brand new system, maybe you do it for a small project within the company. Maybe you introduce one or two factors. Maybe you sit down with the rest of your team, discuss the pros and cons of it, and what small pieces you can adopt. That is a much more effective way to start making shifts in how things work without being a constant force of disruption by reintroducing new methods every other week. The other thing to remember is that people rarely put out blog posts about their ideal method if their method is kind of clunky. They're not going to tell you about all the rough edges. They're not going to tell you about all the ways that it didn't work. That doesn't make for a very buzzworthy blog post. Get out there and build. Stay consistent. Continue your process, tweaking with continuous improvement. Get more stuff out the door. And ultimately, maybe write that blog post about how great your system is.